Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shefali. Hi, guys. Tell me where you're signing in from. I always like to know where in the world you are. Where in the world are you? So tell me where you're signing in from. And I think it's day 43. It's actually day 66 since I've been doing these talks, but I began calling them viral wisdom only on day 43. Hi guys. So day 66, really keep that in mind because I'm going to tie it into something I'm going to talk about today. Madonna from Lebanon. I love that. Um, Welcome everyone. Hi David from New Jersey. How is everyone doing? So I'm going to just take a few minutes for you to come here. Lynn has been here every day. Shafia from India. Ashley from San Diego. Hi Ashley. Sharon from the beautiful Cayman Islands. I'm so happy for you, Sharon. Karima, Florida. Hi, Amandeep from California. Hi, guys. I'm just going to let you come in and, you can check in, tell me how you're doing, tell me what you're feeling. We've been in lockdown here in New York from March 16th, which is when I began talking to you guys. And so it's been, I think this is day 66. Crystal from Alaska, Jody, Ontario. Hi, Dimpy, Tanya. Hello from Little Red Dot. What is that? Am I missing something? What's Little Red Dot? Thank you, Swovi. Crystalline from London. Hi, Sheena. Francie. Francie's stressed being single. From San Luis Obispo. That's California, no? Northern California. Kinari from India. Badenzi from Turkey. Hi, guys. Romania. Montreal. Okay, you ready to learn something new? Someone says. So today, what do I want to talk about? Um, the reason I can talk a lot, not only because I'm just garrulous, is because there's just so much that is fascinating about the human condition. I find life incredibly fascinating. I find the human condition incredibly touching and poignant and moving, and it's a symphony that is forever nuanced and complex. And just when you feel you've got your pulse on it, you hear another tone and you hear another note, and you realize that if you just raise the volume, uh, in the saxophone area, it would sound completely different. And so you shift the whole symphony. It's a symphony of moving parts. It is an endlessly orchestrating, monumentally cinematic artistry, this thing called life. At least that's how I look at it. And I'm always fascinated by the moving pieces and how, and I say this all the time, but I pay homage to this thought, how little is in our control. I'm just always reminded of that. Like, why did I think I could control this? Why did I think I could be a parent and manage this without a glitch? Why did I think I could be in relationships and it would be easy? So it's just a fascinating operatic piece, this thing called life. And I'm just always trying to pay attention and always trying to see the patterns and the motifs and the themes. And it fascinates me. For me, and this is why I do what I do, I'm not interested necessarily in learning any skill other than understanding my own mind. When I was young, my father, gave me three very important lessons, and he listens sometimes to these talks. He taught me three things in life. He was don't be judgmental. He always used to say, don't be judgmental. And number two, be introspective. And that's really what I took the most, is always look within, always see what's happening within you. And then he said, always, keep a clean underwear. I don't know where that came from, but he that's his way of saying have a shower every day and be clean and watch what goes in the underwear. So anyway, he was just funny about it, and I joke with him all the time that you always said these three things to me. But I think the most important piece that he gave me was to be introspective, and what that means is understand your own mind. We're here to understand ourselves. Who or what is more fascinating than that? Nothing. I mean, you couldn't tell me some archaeological dig in the middle of Siberia is more fascinating than the human mind. So understanding the human mind, understanding cultural trends, patterns, stories, how we came to be the way we are biologically, spiritually, psychologically, is just very fascinating to me. That's why I can talk about it every day, because this is what I do every day is I ponder and I philosophize and I think and I want to understand our minds and ourselves better. So one of my favorite things to talk about or think about is how important, crucial it is that we live in alignment. And to live in alignment is more complex than simply saying be honest or live an honest life or be good or be kind or be passionate. It's something very different. So listen to me a second so I can explain. What does it mean to be aligned? To be aligned means to be integrated, means to be processed. Not as in processed meats and cheese, which is artificial. What it means is to be, but there is a synonym there. To process something is to cure it, is to send it through this curative process where you're making it, you're evolving it into cheese, into something different, right? So there is an analogy there. Um, what it means to be integrated and aligned means to be in the present moment in such an alive way that whatever is coming up is understood, is cured. It goes through an integrative evolutionary process. It's not bypassed. And I think most of us live our lives bypassing it because we've been taught to live in a goal oriented way. We've been taught that the goal is is outside. So the goal is all that matters. It doesn't matter what emotion we're feeling on the way. It doesn't matter if we feel false, if we're lying, if we're sheep, if we're cattle, we're slaves, right? It doesn't matter because what is the goal? And the goal in the Western world, which is the predominant way that we live now, is the Western way of thinking, is success, some degree of success, to be on the top of the totem pole, to be the best. Now, this Western ideation of being the best and being, the most achieving and the striving to be competitive is fine, but it is quite dysfunctional, and I'll tell you why. Because it is so driven outward. It is so driven on something that is an impossible standard of achievement, perfection, and success, such an impossible standard that no matter what you do, the 6,551 things you do, it will not be enough. So all of us have been conditioned with this striving mentality, to strive, to look outward. We've been told that that's the way to raise our children. So we always tell our children that life is hard, life is suffering, life is difficult. Life is not enjoying yourself. You can enjoy that from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on every Saturday afternoon, and that's it. The rest of life is to achieve, to do. So, in a typical American neighborhood, and I'm speaking the truth, and it could be in other countries too, but it's very starkly present in America. In every typical American neighborhood, you will not see children. But now in COVID, you will, but not before. You will not see children ambling around. You will not see children wasted on the lawn staring at the sky. Those times are over. It was our generation that maybe grew up like that. But this generation, meaning the ones that we are parents to, no, 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 no. We don't just hang about. We just don't go for a bike ride around the park. We don't go play basketball on the mud lawn down the street. Oh no, that is too informal. Where will that take us? No, we do things only that are organized, structured, and linear for the one purpose of entering the best school, the most prestigious university, so you can get the best job, and then you set your trajectory, right? Everything is done for the trajectory, everything is done for the resume, everything is done for the outward. This is Western mindset of achievement and doing on steroids, right? So there's no such thing as an American neighborhood anymore, where children play. It's desolate. You remember going through the American neighborhood. I was, because I come from India, which is so overpopulated and it has its own toxic dysfunctionality. I'm not idolizing any country when I talk about the way it is where I live. I was in shock because I could hear a pin drop in my neighborhood. You know why? Because there were no children, certainly no animals, and there was nobody hanging around. And now in COVID, you go outside in the evening. Oh my goodness, the children, the parents, and what are we doing? Nothing fancy anymore. Wow, we're not organized into organized sports anymore. How come we're not organizing? We're not in clubs and we're not in legions and in big troops anymore. How come we're just on our own, ambling on the most ordinary bicycles and skateboards and 2 feet? How come? How come suddenly we're okay with that and we're fine, aren't we? And suddenly the millions of dollars that were being spent on travel baseball and travel basketball and buying fancy equipment and doing all these fancy things, now we've reverted back to just how it was once upon a time, long time ago, and how it should always have stayed. The point is that we live in this outward driven way and we miss the moment. And when we miss the simplicity of the present moment, we fail to be present to our life experience. And when we fail to be present to our life experience, we cannot integrate what's happening to us because there's no time to integrate. So we live a disintegrated life. And that's why we eat too much, because we're not present to our cues of hunger. That's why we must drink and have drugs, because we must numb the present moment. Because you see, the present moment is never good enough because it's not that on the top of the mountain. We have 6,552 more steps to go, always. Then we get to that mountain and it's the next one. This was very clear to me in my life when I'm going to share something with you to illustrate how I too was very mountain driven till I realized these damn mountains don't end. You come to the bottom of one, there's another one right there. And it's a trick and a trap. And I'm getting off this train, but I was on the train. And I remember my mountain at one time was to be a speaker at the Wisdom 2.0 conference. Okay, this was my little goal, and I said to myself, if one day I can be a speaker just for 5 minutes on the stage at Wisdom 2.0, my goodness, like then I've arrived. Like I'm a teacher. And then in 2000, whatever, 14, 15, I got invited to be on the Wisdom 2.0 stage. Okay. So I got to the top of the mountain. You can hear the talk. It's on pain being a portal to consciousness. And so I checked the box. Okay. And I thought I would be happy. Let me tell you, I was not only not happy, I was not even content for a moment because I was so greedy and insatiable because I had another 6,542 steps left because the next mountain showed up and I became so greedy. And just as I got off the stage, maybe 5 minutes, I checked the box, forgot my promise to the universe, I will be content. And right then I said to myself, oh, now if I just could get on Oprah, then that's it. Then I promise that that's it. I won't want anything. I was bartering with my universe, yeah. And I saw how greedy I was. I couldn't even be okay in a bloody moment after Wisdom 2.0. Okay, then I went on Oprah, okay, and I got that check and I checked it, and I'm not ashamed to say how really greedy I was because I had just finished the first interview with Oprah. Just finished, okay? I was still in the chair. They had still mic, I was still sweating from nervousness, and I had the mic here. And the first thing, she's right there, okay? The first thing I think of, because this is how insatiably greedy I am, and I'm a wisdom teacher, I thought to myself, Oh, that really sucked. I don't think I did good in that. Okay, just one more Oprah. Give me one more Oprah. Can you imagine? I saw and I said, when will this end? And I realized that I'm not unusual, maybe a little bit more crazy, but I realized that this is the setup. Damn it. It's the bloody setup. You hit the goal, you need the next goal. That's why we can never be thin enough. We can never be pretty enough. We can never be happy enough. We can never freaking be enough because the setup is that you have to climb. Life is about climbing. The life is about the climb. But this is insane because you climb to the top of the mountain, the next one is right there. So if you've been living a life that I call a ladder, it's just one ladder that never ends, you know, you have to understand it's not because you haven't achieved. It hasn't because you haven't reached the goal. It's because you have been set up to climb. Life is striving. Life is hard work. Well, let me tell you, it took me a long time and many Oprahs to stop And I don't know whether I have fully stopped, but I definitely have stopped being greedy. Okay, that stopped because I realized that this is insanity. And this hunger is obviously not going to be quenched from the outside because I got that and I got that and I got that and I'm still hungry. And that's when I began doing some serious work around my self worth and around my inner void. Right? I realized, wow. And I was projecting it onto this person, projecting it onto this person. Nothing was good enough. Nothing was fine enough. I was always discontented. And I realized, wow, I'm just like everybody else. I'm making myself feel normal. And that we are all addicted to discontentment. That's the addiction. We've become so used to this unworthiness that we constantly create barriers in our lives and constantly create big achievement obstacles and hurdles to just continue feeling unworthy. So, who's going to stop? We have to stop. How do we do it? Okay, here we go. How do we do it? We do it by realizing that we have to begin living aligned to a different mission, aligned to a different harmony, to a different orchestra. We have to stop playing to the conductor on the outside. We have to learn to play to a different conductor. The conductor has to be the conductor of your own inner rhythm, your own inner soul. But in order to listen to that conductor, you have to go within. You have to ask yourself, what is my inner soul saying? What does my inner symphony dictate and mandate? What are the notes of my inner orchestra and my inner music? What is going on inside me? And if we don't begin to ask, which automatically includes letting go of the outside, right? If we're going inward, like I said yesterday, everything is non dual. Just by doing one, you are automatically doing the other. So by going inward, you're automatically going to reject the outside. So just that act is the revolution, which we have not been trained to do, is to go within and to seriously take this in our power, in our charge, to become our own conductor. When we do, we begin to understand that life is lived through the experience, not the content. It's lived through the process. Life is not lived through the outcome, it's lived through the process, not through the goal, through the process, not through the achievement, through the process, not through any process. So you keep coming back to process. What is this process teaching me? What is this process asking me to do from within? How can I learn from the process? And process becomes your key indicator. Now, process is not ego. Process is soul. Process is not achievement. Process is being in the moment. It's a completely different mind shift. It's a revolution. It's pivoting to a completely different beat. And people feel afraid to move to this beat because we've been conditioned to be on a different beat. So yesterday I interviewed two people a couple who lives in Hawaii. You're going to see their interview soon. John and Missy Butcher. We're doing a project together, and they live in Hawaii, in Molokai or something, where they're more dear than people. And we were talking about leaving mainstream and getting off the grid and what an act of courage it is, but actually not so. It is an act of wisdom. It's an act of sanity, really, to leave the grid, because the grid is insanity. The grid is the Western mindset of achievement and dogma and competition and comparison. So, in order to live integrated, aligned, it means to manifest not outside in, but inside out. This is the revolution. This is the fundamental paradigm shift. And when you begin to align, you begin to be honest at a level that you have never been honest before. It is true flow within your own truth. It's a declaration that you must show up for yourself. So you move away from ladders and living in the climb, and you move towards living in the flow, like I talked about yesterday. You must begin to pay adherence to how do I flow? How do I be in alignment? Another word for alignment is synergy. How do I find synergistic partners, right? What is the pathway before me? What are all my choices which will be the most in flow? So, synergy, match, these are all words for the same, synonyms for flow. But to design your life in flow, to design and curate your entire existence, meaning all your relationships, to match you and be in flow. As I began to leave the ladder world, the world of ladders, and the world of striving, and the world of greed and insatiable hunger and desire for validation, as I began to leave it more and more and get off the grid in my own way and to conduct an internal revolution and to make internal declarations that were more in line with my truth. As I began to do that, I began to fall away from those that were not in synergy and attract those that were in synergy. Now, I'm going to talk about another concept that takes us even further, deeper into our truth, and that's the concept of syzygy. If you look up syzygy, it's another word, Sygyzy, I think it is. And it's beautiful because what it talks about the alignment of the sun, the moon, and the earth in this geographical time space dimension, and how more bodies can align. When more bodies align, right, and it comes first from the inner orchestra aligning, the inner symphony has to first work, then you go into synergy, you attract more relationships that are in synergy, but then you go outward into syzygy, where more and more bodies are in alignment. Right now you have developed a community, a tribe, a global field, a field, it's energetic, a field of flow. Right now the river and its tributaries are meeting the ocean, right? So, how do you go from one to a million? Now you are the ocean, right? Now, everywhere you go, you are in flow, right? And your life begins to reflect that. I know in my life, I still am sometimes in battle by holding on to all the elements of lack of synergy, assynergy, right? And every time I do that, I literally have a physical, nauseatingly revolting inner experience. And I remember, I go, why did I do that? Why did I go backward? Because I'm holding on. This is cultural conditioning. We still go back, and we go back to a relationship or go back to a moment or go back to a way of thinking. Sometimes I'll still think, you know what? I'll go on a diet, and I'll have that thought and I'll go, why? Why? That's an old paradigm way of thinking. We don't go on any diet anymore. Or I'll go back to a way of thinking, I should go back to, lifting weights and, pushing myself in exercise, and I'll go, oh, old paradigm, old paradigm. Or I'll go back to some sort of should, that I used to do. I should be nice to that person who hurt me. Let me call up that friend, even though it's completely fake and inauthentic, I'll still do the old tape because that's the power of conditioning. We regress, but that's old paradigm. Anything that is out of alignment now with me, I recognize it as the old me. Oh, look, old me is back, knocking, just testing you to see, are you still, oh, are you still your new self, or you've done with your new self? Come back to the old. And I recognize my old self that wants to fake it, wants to please, wants to lose her power, wants to go back into the shadow, wants to enter hunger and insecurity and unworthiness. My old self is always walking with me. It's not like I'm completely. I will live with her for how many years? How can the old self just go? But it's a constant work to go. Oh, oh, old paradigm, new paradigm. Old paradigm, new paradigm. My new paradigm is to be in alignment. And wherever I'm not in alignment, I have to remove the blocks, like I talked about yesterday, or whenever I talked about flow. So, how do I remove the blocks? How do I enter synergy so that synergy becomes syzygy and it's more and more bodies in alignment? And that is why I talk about the element of water and space so much, because water, more than space, even, you can see the flow. Water, it'll literally part around the rocks. It'll just go around the rocks, and you cannot stop the water from going to the low area into the ocean. And the water just, and when it becomes the ocean, the water simply merges. There is no ego, there is no separation, there is no competition, there's no hunger. You cannot tell the drop from the ocean. You can't. You try to pick up a drop, go into the water, go into the ocean next time you're there, pick up a drop. You're like, I want a drop. You cannot pick up a drop. You know why? Because it's in complete syzygy, it's in union complete union. And this is how we want to curate a life of union. Union, yoga means union. What does yoga mean? Union. The union of the yin and the yang, the union of the masculine and the feminine, union of outer and inner. And when your life begins to be lived in union, there's ease, right? Because nothing is jarring you, because you're your authentic. You just show up. There's nothing to do. Just show up. Now you'd say, well, what about paying the bills? And what about that? And what about, yeah, but I'm talking about something that comes before the doing. The energetic space that you need to occupy inside you in your privacy. You can work like a horse. I work like a horse. There is no end to the work I do. But I'm not talking about the outside. I'm not talking about what I produce or don't produce in a day. That's irrelevant to me. What's more relevant to me is, where am I coming from? What is my inside? Am I integrated? Am I real? Even if I'm crying all day, is that real? Is that me for this moment? Am I showing up as me, or am I showing up as a caricature of culture's conditioning, which is filled with insecurity, unworthiness, and fear? So, synergy to syzygy, the flow of water to become unionized, and the more you have belief systems and opinions and ego and me versus you, the less you will flow. It's as simple as that. I was telling a friend, isn't it interesting that this virus, really compromises those who have serious amounts of pre existing conditions? It's a spiritual analogy for the belief systems we have. The more pre existing, rigid, very dearly held belief systems we have, the more we will be compromised. It's just a spiritual analogy, yes? The more we are attached to who I am versus who you are, the more we will be compromised in life. Water takes on the definition of whatever container you put it in. Doesn't mean it lets go its authentic nature as water. It stays water, but it has no ego about it. It's not, it doesn't say I'm only going to the round container or the oval bowl, or put me only in the crystal jar. Water doesn't have ego about it, because water is looking for flow. Where can I flow? And that's the energy that I'm talking about before the doing, right? Look at your life as a curation of synergy, and only keep the pieces that are in flow. Now that takes a lot of courage, but this is why COVID is here, is to give you this time out to do a serious reevaluation, a serious rehaul. I don't know about you, but many of the people in my communities, you can join, by the way. One of my communities is called Luminous for Women. Luminous. Come and join Luminous. It's on my website. It's only open for another 8 days, and then it's going to be closed for 6 months. It's a small community of, it's not very small, of like minded women who are in synergy. I'm trying to create synergy. And how to create synergy is, you have to create it. It takes courage. It takes joining, you have to act, you have to change, you have to shift, you have to declare, you have to commit, right? This is not going to happen easily, right? So look at your life, look at your table, look at your desk, look at your computer, declutter. What is working, what isn't? What is a reflection of me? Now, sometimes you can't get rid of everybody, okay, in your life. Like, we're not getting rid of everybody right now, but we're at least coming into awareness of who is in synergy and who isn't. You can take care of the actual removal of people or the actual rearrangement of people later. It's not about what you do, it's about your awareness of how integrated or disintegrated your life is. But this takes courage. It takes a bold courage to go through the grieving process of letting go those that do not serve us anymore, things that do not serve us anymore, ideologies that do not serve us, and entering new ways of being, right? The river doesn't keep holding on to the river, does it? The river doesn't say, nope, at the forefront of the ocean. It doesn't close its arms and throw a tantrum. Nope, I'm not joining the ocean. No, the river joins the ocean. So, in order to join the ocean of greater flow, of expanse, of infinity, you have to be willing to say goodbye, release, let go. And you have to then enter a greater union, right? So that's why I created Luminous, because it's a sisterhood. So I want union. It's not just me or you anymore, it's a union. So, just to become a little political, even though I don't think it's political, because what is political, it's just personal. When I saw the Democratic Party nominations in America, I was appalled. I was like, what is this? Is this a circus? Like, there are only 45 people wanting to become president. What, this whole, everyone wants to be president? Now, that's an example of zero syzygy. And I'm fully democratic because the other choice is, appalling. So, I mean, I wish I didn't have to choose between two, but between the two, you're going to do, what you're going to do. But when the Democratic nominations occurred, and did you see 45 people on stage? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but something like that. That's an example of ego and no syzygy in a party. And how sad it is that you could not even choose two people or five at most, but really so much ego and so much separation that each one thought that they should be. And we wasted millions of dollars when they could have consolidated and become an ocean. Each one's river, though, wanted to stay the river. That's what happens, you see, and that's a prime example of the bullshit of the ego in our lives. And this is how ego shows up. Each one wants to be, no, I don't want to be part of the ocean. I will not be part. I want to be my own. Okay, so then have stupidity, have waste, right? And this is how we live our lives, really. Each nuclear family is out of syzygy, is out of union. We should be living in tribes, in communities like we used to live. No, but each one wants their own house. No, I like, and that tree over there, that's not your tree. How many of you who have homes look at your trees and count your trees, right? And you're like, where's my property line? I've done it. I've done it when I put the fence. I'm like, no, is that my bush? Okay, so put my fence behind the bush. Leave my bush, okay? Sick. We're sick people. We're sick. Okay, this is dysfunction because we've been conditioned like this to my, right? So this is the issue. We're hilarious though, and but we're pathetic. So y- revolution begins with you. Change begins with you, right? If we can't do it in our own lives, if we can't create union and oceanic oneness in our own life, how can we create it or expect it to be on the outside? So this is what I was wanting to talk to you about today. And on day 66, guess which verse in the Tao, Day Jing, is the verse that is the most beautiful verse. Now, I'm really saying this is called synergy because I was talking to my friend about, this idea of union and integration. And my friend said, well, how did you miss verse 66? I said, because today is day 66. Today is day 66. I was meant to do it today. And so then the whole talk became about integration and alignment and union and how we need to be in flow, right? And when you are in union in your life, when your inner is in integration, you're not bullshitting, you're not showing up in ego. For example, if what does synergy look like or integration look like in your personal life? You know, the other day on Mother's Day, one of my dear friends was talking about how her family wasn't doing anything on Mother's Day and she was getting pissed. but she didn't say a word. So synergy would be, hey, guys, I'm a mother. I want a gift. Synergy. Synergy is saying, I'm feeling vulnerable right now. Synergy is saying, this is not working for me. Synergy is saying, this is not my truth. Synergy is saying, every time I'm around you, I want to scream. Synergy is saying to your children, hey guys, this something has to change. This doesn't work for me. Synergy is coming from the heart, but owning your truth, not living in fear of, if I owned my truth, there would be a consequence. Synergy is being brave to say, what's happening inside my life experience, in my process, right here, right now. Sorry, guys, I have allergies, so I'm a little itchy. So see, just before I scratched my eye, I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, my eye is scratching, but it'll mess up my video. Yeah, I had that ego thought, right? I can feel like I want to like scratch my eyes out right now, but I'm on video, right? And then I was like, you know what? Be in synergy, scratch your eye, right? It's okay. It's okay with the video. And then talk about the process. So synergy is being in the moment and going, whoa, 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 what's happening inside me right here, right now, and being integrated and aligning to it. But that takes presence, right? I was noticing my thoughts, I was noticing this, and that has only occurred in my life through meditation. So if you want to learn to meditate, that's what you have to do. And I teach meditation every single day. Today I'm not, but every other most days I'm teaching meditation. And you can join my meditations in another place. It's on my website somewhere or on my Facebook somewhere. So synergy involves being awake to the present moment, understanding the experience, paying attention to the process, letting go of the goal outside, and being true to that. And as you begin living in flow like that, soon your life becomes oceanic. You understand, symbolically, you are no longer a river in your life alone, trickling. Your life becomes abundant because everything begins to be connected. And when more energies in your life come in that are in connection with you, and more people, and trust me, there are people who are synergistic to you, syzygistic to you. You just haven't opened yourself up to that because you have too much nonsense in your life right now. You see, if you have too much clutter, you cannot be in synergy. Synergy means only refining to the 16, 17 elements in your life that flow, and saying goodbye to debris that do not flow, right, out of ego. Now I have a lot of people in my life, but most of them are synergistic. What to do? Because I'm creating oceans wherever I go. So you can too be part of the ocean. So join Luminous, my sisterhood, and you can have a life of flow. But you have to declare it. You have to be courageous. You have to say no to say yes. So verse 66 in the Tao is the verse that talks about flow in the most beautiful way. So even though this is viral wisdom number 43, I started talking 66 days ago on Facebook and giving my teaching 66 days ago. They're all on YouTube. You can go and see them. And so let's talk about verse 66. Okay, it just happens to be verse 66, and also 6 6. It's just that the numbers together are in union. Okay. All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. The ocean is at, why do we say ocean level, right? Ground level is ocean. Why? Because the ocean is at the lowest point, right? The ocean will always be at the lowest point. The ocean, the grandeur of the ocean is at the lowest point. So the synonym there, the analogy there is that beauty is when you let go and you flow into humility, right? No ego, no ladders anymore, no mountain climbing. We're going to the ocean, so to speak. Nothing wrong with mountains, but it's the energy of the climb versus the flow into the ocean, right? It's energetic is what I'm talking about. All streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. When you go, when people ask the Buddha, what do you believe in? You know, and then the Buddha, I can imagine, would say something like, I have no beliefs. Now, this is very profound. I have no views. Buddhism and enlightenment is the extinction of belief systems because beliefs are false. Beliefs are constructions. You don't need to have beliefs. Beliefs are ego, right? When you let go of all of that, you become flow. You just flow. If you want to govern the people, the verse says, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, You must learn how to follow them. The master is above the people, yet no one feels oppressed. She goes ahead of the people, but no one feels manipulated. The whole world is grateful to her. How is that possible when she competes with no one and no one can compete with her? What this means is end the bullshit game of striving, competition, power, achievement. All of this is an illusion. Instead, move into the revolutionary new way of flow, of going to the lowest point. That's the best point. Like, let go of fighting, let go of I have to win. This has to be equal. This is all Western paradigms of scarcity and lack. Go to the non-dual place of the river meeting the ocean. So much so you cannot tell the river from the ocean anymore. That's living in flow. When you live in flow, you cannot tell your life from your life, right? People ask me, how do I work so much? And Shefali, stop working. I go, I'm not working. I'm breathing. Like there's no separation. There's no separation, right? And many times in my life, my old people in my life used to say, are you in Dr. Shefali mode? Are you Shefali mode? And I was like, I don't know. There's no difference. It's just me. I'm just showing up. You want to call me doctor, you want to call me a porcupine, you want to call me purple, you want to call me a unicorn, you do whatever you want. I'm just showing up as me. You want to call me doctor, fine. It's just me. So when you begin to show up as all of your whole life begins to reflect that. The choices you make. Do you love yourself or do you not love yourself? If you love yourself, 99.99% of the time, you're going to love yourself, which means you're going to stay away from choices that are not loving. Means your food is going to love you. You're not the ego you of the taste. You see, the ego wants the taste of the cheese pizza, but the soul wants its vegetables and its organic and its, whatever the most raw food is. The ego wants, the chocolate caviar and the gin and tonic or whatever you guys have, whatever we want, that is gourmet. But the soul just wants berries and nuts and some food. That's it. So we begin to create a life that reflects that inner connection, that inner love, that inner alignment. So alignment, water is always in alignment. Water is not in resistance. Water is always going to find, where can I flow, how to flow. I'm not wasting time in ego, in fighting, right? And if I have people in my life that I'm in competition with, that means they're in competition with me. Eliminate, eliminate, and not eliminate in any sort of willful battle. You just move away. You just move away energetically. You just stop arguing. When I see my daughter who wants to argue sometimes, I just go, I'm not arguing. It's not a fight. Who are we fighting with? There's no one to fight with. I get it. I'm not fighting. I always say this to her. I'm not interested in winning. I'm not fighting. I want to flow. How to flow. And I move toward people who flow with me and away from people who don't. And they have every right not to flow with me. We each have our own river to the ocean equation going on. Find yours, and flow with yours. So thank you for being here and enjoy verse 66. Go read it again. And I will see you in flow in the next flow, whenever that is and whenever that shows up. Thank you, everyone.